In this second part of our lectures today, we are going to continue with something called file handling, but instead of how we did it previously, we are going to use a module called OS. OS stands for operating system. So this is a module you can use with Python to do certain tasks, and some of the tasks we're going to look at is how to rename a file. So you've got a file on your computer which is already there, then you want to give that file a new name. How to delete an existing file. So how, if a file is there, then how do you get rid of it? How to check if a file or a directory is there on your computer. Then how to create directories. A directory is a folder. So how do you create a folder or a directory on your computer? Then how do you create folders inside other folders at the same time? Then how do you check the contents of a directory or a folder? Then how do you enter into a folder? Then how do you come out of the folder and actually show what folder you're in? Then how do you delete a directory? And how do you delete directories recursively? And how do you get information about what kind of computer you're using and the environment? And how do you carry out something called shell commands? These shell commands, you won't have to concern yourselves very much because these shell commands are in Linux, and for you, you don't have to do that so much. Then also how to get information about your operating system which you're using on the computer. So the first thing you're going to do for you to have access to this module called OS is to import it. The name of the module is OS, which stands for operating system. So in this case, you're going to say import OS. So when you import OS, this is what you're going to get. Then next, you want to kind of have, you want to check the contents of this OS module. What is there? So in this case, we're going to say list the contents of OS module. So you want to list the contents of this module. And how do you do that? So you do the following. Say dir. So if you say dir, then OS, you get a list of things like this, which is a long list. So instead of doing that, what you actually do is you do a print dir OS. So this is going to give you something much better. So this is what you get when you do a print dir OS. So this is what, when you import OS, this is what you have access to when you import OS. This is what you have access to, a lot of stuff, and we're going to see how to use some of this stuff which you have good access to when you use OS. So all these things here, this is what you have good access to. So we're going to use some of these. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do using OS is how to rename a file. And for you to rename a file, you're going to use the function called here, rename. This rename here. So we're picking things from this list of things. As you can see, there's a square bracket here. There's another square bracket here. So this is a list of things. So this, what you have here, is a list of things which you can do with OS. You can do that, or you can then you can say contents OS content. You can create a variable called OS contents. OS contents, like that. Then you can print these. Print OS contents. Say print OS contents. So when you do print OS contents, so basically it's the same thing which you have access to here. So here, so you can do this, that, then you print the contents of OS, and that's what you have here. So one of the things we want to use is this. Now for you to access any of these things which are in this list, you need to, since it's the name of the module, you need to start with OS, the name. Okay. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to rename a file. Okay. We want to rename a file. That's what we want to do. Before we rename a file, I think it would be better to actually see where that file is. Okay. So there is a folder. Yeah, this one here. Let me copy this. And let me take it up. Okay, so here. So I will also get something down here. Copy this. Then I'll take it up. So I want to see the folder on this computer where I am. I want to see what's there. Okay. Now the way you see what's on your computer is using this using this guy here. You use this guy here. List dir or list directory. That's what it means. It means list the contents of the directory. So right now on my computer where I am, the folder where I'm working from, I'm going to list what's there. So for me to do that, I'll say os.list dir. Then this is how I do this, using a dot to list the contents of where I am. When I do that, this is what I get. I get a bunch of things. So with this, like that, I get a bunch of things. These are the things which are in the folder where I'm working from. So that's how you see what's on the computer where a person is working from, like that. Now I have a folder which is of interest. So these are the things. Some of them are files, some of them are folders, but there is a folder which I'm interested in. Where is that? That's that. There's one I'm particularly interested in. Where are you? Just a minute. Yeah, this one. Yes, I'm interested in this folder here. That dataset folder. So right now with this, when I just say dot, I put a dot, so it shows me what is in the folder in which I'm working in. However, my interest is in this folder called dataset. Okay, so after this dot, I'm going to type the name of dataset so that I can see what is in dataset. Are we clear?
Yes.
So when you just put dot there, you in quotation marks, it shows you what's in the folder where you are. Let's say you're watching movies, then it shows you those movies, the names of those movies. But inside this folder where I'm working from, there is this folder called dataset. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to say os.list dir, then I'll do this, then this third, then I'll say dataset, like that. So this tells Python to look into where I am, but also not just where I am, but to specifically look into this folder here called dataset. So with this folder, if I run this, now this is what I get. So I get a much shorter thing. So this dataset folder has these contents. It has got a file called projector.txt, it has got a file called test, it has got a file called blacksheep.txt, it's got a file called cars.csv, it has got a file called twinkle.text, it has got a file called prime number.json, it has got a file called numpy.csv, it has got first.txt. As you can see, what you're getting here is a list. So you get a list of the contents of that particular file. Are we clear?
Yes.
So with this function list dir, you tell it where you are, then you tell it the folder in which to go. It's going to show you, oh, this is what's there. Okay, so you don't have to go into this particular folder. If I go into this particular folder, this is exactly what I'm going to find. If I go there right now, this is where I am, dataset here. And you can see there's black sheep, there's CSV, there's cars, there's Numpy, there's prime numbers, there's projector, there's test, there's twinkle. So this is a folder in which I am in. The name of the folder is there, dataset.txt, dataset there. That's the name of the folder. Are we clear?
Yes.
So this is a function you use. List dir is the function you use to see the contents of a folder. Say list dir, then you put the name of the folder you want to see. Okay. Now that we know what files are in this dataset, the next thing we want to do is we want to change the name of this file, twinkle.txt. So we want to do a renaming. The way you rename a file, we change the name of a file from one file name to another. You can also do the same thing in Python. Now renaming a file in Python is done using this function, rename. So you're going to do os.rename. Then os.rename is going to expect a couple of things. The first thing it's going to expect is the name of the file you want to rename. Okay, the full name of the file, if there's a folder, where it is and what's the name. Then after that, the name you want to give it. So here, this is how it works. So it's going to say os.rename. Then first of all, here is the name of the file. That's what is called the source. Then the name of the name you want to give the file, that's what's called the destination. Okay, so source is the source file name. So that's the name of the file as it is in the computer right now. That's what's called the source. Then destination is the name of the file as it exists, like that. I think even better, before we do this renaming thing, I think it could be better if we get into this folder. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yes, let's get into this folder. Okay, so when you want to get into a folder, where is that? Let's see, directory contents. Changing, yeah. Here, this one. So I'll copy this. I'll move it up. We'll get into that folder, dataset, so that things become much easier, so that we work in a much easier way. Before we rename, now that we know where our file of interest is, we want to get into that folder. Here. So we're going to say get change working directory to, so we want to get into this folder which has got the files we want, dataset directory. So the way you do this, how you get into a folder is by using a command, using a function called change dir. Where is that? ch this this change dir. So this one, you tell it the name of the folder you want to get into. The name of the folder I want to get to is this one. Okay? Are we clear? This is
Yes.
this is the name of the folder I want to get into. So we're going to tell it that name. So we're going to say os dot change dir. Then we tell it you want to get into this. Okay, when you tell it, it says okay. Then now we can see where we are, what's there, by doing this simple thing here. What are the contents, and also what is the name of the folder in which you're in. So list the contents. So that's the next thing we're going to do here. After we get into that folder, we're going to say, based on what you have learned, how do you see what's in that folder? So you're going to say list the contents of dataset. List the contents of that dataset directory. So we want to see what's in this folder we have entered in. So when you do that, how do you do that? It's going to be os dot lists. If you want to see the contents of a folder, you use what you have here. This one we have used here, list dir. It shows you what is in the folder. Are we clear? So since you have entered the dataset folder, we just do this. So this dot always represents where you are. So in this case, when you do that, you see we see the same things. This is the same stuff we saw when we did this. When we listed the contents of this dataset folder, we got projectile, test.txt, blacksheep.txt, cast.csv, twinkle.txt, that, prime numbers, JSON, and that. And here, now that we have entered into this directory, dataset.txt, then we list its contents. By doing that, we see the same things. Okay? Are we clear?
Yes.
So this shows you that you have entered into this folder. Okay? If you are not sure whether you have entered in this folder, you can actually print where you are. Okay? You can print your folder in which you're in, the name of the folder. You can get the name of the folder in which you're in. That's the next thing we're going to do. So we want to get the name of the folder in which we're in. Where is that? So it's changed. It's have to change this one. So copy this. Then I'll go out so that we use it to print where are we. So here, so next we're going to print the contents of the present working directory. Print the present. It's called the present working directory. Where you are, working directory in the computer. Where are you? That's what it's called, the present working directory. So for you to do that, you just do this: os.get current working directory, or current working directory. Not present. Let's do current working directory here. Also here, let me change to current. Print So where are you on the computer? So you're going to say os dot get current working directory. When you do this, you get a name the whole way. This is a full name of everything. But if you notice at the end there is this bit here, dataset. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, so that shows you that we are actually in this folder called dataset. Are we clear?
Yes.
So that's how you know what folder you're in when you're using Python, using this get current working directory. Okay, so now that we're in this dataset and you have seen what is in dataset, so again we'll remind ourselves, list the contents, we'll remind ourselves, so that is going to be os list dir. The folder we want to is the one we're in. So we want to list the contents. So these are the contents of the current working directory. What we want to do here is we want to rename this guy twinkle.txt to another file. So since we are already in that file, we don't have to include anything. We will just say the name of the file is twinkle.txt and the name we want to give it is going to be twinkle.littlestar.txt, like this. So the name of the file we want to change is this one, twinkle.txt. After we rename it, it should be renamed to twinkle.littlestar.txt. Are we clear?
Yes.
So when we do this, we run that, it works. We can do another listing to see if now we have a file called twinkle.littlestar.txt. So we're going to say here, here. So we run this. When you run this, now you have this. You see that? You no longer have the twinkle. The twinkle.txt has disappeared. Now this is what you have. Twinkle.littlestar.txt. Are we clear?
Yes.
So you have managed to change the name of a file from twinkle to twinkle.littlestar.txt. Yeah. Previously it was this. Twinkle.txt. Now when you look at this, there is no twinkle.txt, but what is there is twinkle.littlestar.txt. So that is how you change the name of a file. Are we clear? Using OS.
Yes.
Okay, now we want to open this file, twinkle.littlestar.txt. So for you to open a file, you create something called a file name, a variable which is going to hold the name of the file. Since we are already in this folder, right now we are in this folder called dataset. So open text file twinkle.littlestar.txt in dataset directory for reading. So now we want to open this file. I want to see what's in this twinkle business. So we store the name of the file, which is twinkle.littlestar.txt, in this thing called file name. Then after that, we create a file object. So we say file is file name, then the mode for which the file. Why are we opening this file? We're opening this file for reading purposes. So this open function is going to open this file, then it's going to create an object called the file object, and you're going to open the file for the purpose of reading. Are we clear? This is what we did when you're opening files about 3 weeks ago. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think here you should say create file objects. Create file object. File objects. For objects for reading file name. Create file object for reading file name. Then so you do this. So then this open function opens a file called twinkle little star, and the purpose for which the file is being opened is for reading. Then when it opened, an object is going to be created called file object. There. With this file object, now we can read the file. So read the entire file twinkle little star using the file object method read. So we're going to use read. So we'll read this thing at once. So this is how we're going to do it. So you say file object that read. When you do that, this is how we read our twinkle. So say twinkle little star, twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle twinkle little star, I wonder what you are. When the blazing sun is gone, when nothing shines upon, then you show your little light. Twinkle twinkle little twinkle twinkle all the night. Twinkle twinkle little star, I wonder where you are. So basically, so this is what is in our file, our twinkle little star file. Okay? Are we clear?
Yes.
So after this, since you have opened the file, you need to close the file. So you close the file like that. That's what we're doing about 3 weeks ago. Okay. Any questions so far? How do you see what is the folder? How do you get into a folder? How do you see the contents of a folder? How do you rename a file? That's what you have done so far. Here, listing the contents of a folder. How do you see what's in the folder? You have seen these. How do you see what is in a particular folder like that? If there's a folder inside where you are, you can see that. How do you get into another folder? How do you list those contents? Then how do you print a folder in which you are? And you have just renamed the file. After renaming that file, we have opened that file like this, like that. Any questions so far?
Nothing so far.
Brian? Okay. Now that we have closed the file twinkle twinkle little star, you can delete it. For you to delete a file called twinkle twinkle little star, remember we're going to delete it using something called file name, because we have the name of the file twinkle in this variable called file name. So for you to delete a file, you use a function called remove. Up here, there should be up here, there should be remove. Where is R? This one. Use a function called remove. There, that one. Okay, so how does that work? So for you to remove a particular file, you give this remove the name of the file you want to get rid of. So in this case, we want to get rid of our twinkle little star.txt file. Are we clear? So we're going to use this remove. So that's going to be os.remove, then file name. There. Okay, has it worked? Okay, we don't know, but we can list the contents of the file, the folder. We can list the contents of the folder to see if Twinkle Twinkle is still there. Are we clear? So let's list the contents of this thing to see if our attempt to delete the Twinkle file has happened. Okay, so I'm going to say os.list dir, then this. Let us see if the Twinkle is there. If you check, we've got projector.txt, text.txt, blacksheep.txt, cast.txt, prime number.txt, number. So you can clearly see that the file has disappeared. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what you do. That's how you remove a file. Okay. Next thing we want to do is checking if a file exists. We want to check if a file exists or not. Right now here, we have got this file called blacksheep.txt. So we know at this particular moment, this file, blacksheep.txt, exists in this folder where we are, this dataset folder. It's there. Okay. If a file exists, if you want to check for the existence of a file, then you use this path.exists. This comes with OS, the path. There's something called path up here. After you access the path, then there's something called exists. So PYSP, OSP, here. This. So when you access this path, then after that path, there's something called exists. You can check. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. So with that bit, we're going to check, we're going to create a file name. We'll create a variable file name. Then you're going to give it the name of the file blacksheep.txt. So that's the name of the file, this blacksheep.txt. There. So this file name, we're going to give it to this guy, os.path.exists. If this file is there, then it's going to tell us true. If the file is not there, then it's going to tell us false. When you do that, you get a true. Do you see this?
Yes.
Yeah, you get a true. Next, we'll change the name of the file from that to something which was there but is no longer there. Twinkle.txt. Okay, then we'll do this again. So if Twinkle is there, which is not there because we have just seen here, right? It's not there. There's no Twinkle here. So if you do this, now that you have changed the file name to that, now what you're going to get is a false value. Do you see this? Do you see what's coming on? So if the file is there, it will give you true. This os.path exists. If the file is there, it tells you true. If the file is not there, it tells you false. Are we clear?
Yes.
Okay. So you can use this information because this thing os.path.exist, it gives you true or false value. So we can use this, the value it's going to give you, to tell someone, instead of just saying true or false, to print out a nice message, say, oh, this file is there or this file is not there. Are we clear? So in this case, we're going to get this top part, then we will do this. We want to check if black sheep exists or not. We'll do that. So in this, the file name, we're going to store black sheep. Now we say if, now because black sheep exists, this bit is going to be true. This from OS path.exist, this is going to be a true. Because it's going to be a true, then we want to print the file exists. The file, whatever it is, the name of the file exists. If it doesn't exist, then we'll say the file, whatever it is, doesn't exist. So in this case, we have seen that black sheep exists. It's there. So in this case, when you run this, it's going to tell you the file blacksheep.txt exists. Are we clear?
Yes.
Is there a question?
No.
Okay, next, we want to check if the file twinkle exists or not. So we'll copy this, then we'll change down a bit here. Now instead of saying black sheep, we're going to say twinkle.txt. Twinkle.txt. So when you run this, then this is what we get. The file twinkle.txt does not exist. Are we clear? Yeah. So this is how it's done. If you want to check for existence using Python of a file, certain file, you use the os.path.exists. That one gives you a true or false value. Using the true or false values, you can use those to tell a person nicely, so no, this file you're looking for doesn't exist or not. Because you can ask a person, say, oh, enter the name of the file you're looking for, then you get the name of that particular file, then you check if that file is there or not. Are we clear?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what you can do about files. We know how to open a file or not go there. We've just seen how to check if a file exists or not. We have also seen how to rename a file. We have also seen how to delete a file. So yeah, this is about what some of the things are going to do with files. The next thing you will need to do with files has to do with directories or folders. Okay? This Python can also help you to create folders, because in these folders, that's where you're going to keep things. Okay, that's where you're going to keep stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to come out of where we are. Oh, no, that's fine. Wherever we are, we want to create a folder there. Okay, so right now, if we list the contents of where we are, so list the contents, list the contents of dataset of this folder called dataset. We see that we remind ourselves of what's there, so that when we add something to there, we see at this was not there and they've just added it. So this, at the moment, this is what you have. os.list dir. So at the moment, this is what you have here in this folder, dataset. Okay, so in this dataset, we want to create a folder called PCs. We want to create a folder called PCs. Since it's a folder, we can store it in a variable called folder. So the name of the folder is going to be PCs. We can store it there, like that. Then we say os.make directory. This is MK. MK is for make, then dir is for directory. So what is the folder we want to create here? So we say os.make directory, like that. When you run that, okay, then we want to see if this folder has been created now. Has it been added? We can quickly find out if it's there. I can do a quick list. I can say os.list dir. I can do a quick list. Then I check. Here it is now. Previously, if you look here, projectile, test, black sheep, cars, prime numbers, no borrowings, and that, it wasn't there. Now it is here. So this thing has been created. This folder has been created. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah, you should convince yourself that that folder has been created in our dataset folder we are. So we entered into a folder called dataset. Then inside that folder called dataset, now we have created another folder called PCS. Okay. You can check if that PCS exists or not by using os.path exists, then you put folder inside. So in this case now, what you're going to do is you're going to say folder, then we already have folder up here. So you don't have to do that. We already set folder up there. So the only thing we're just going to say is here, if you do this, os path then exists, then you put folder there, what you get is a true. So this is telling you that this particular folder, whatever is in folder exists. Then since you want to a nice message, you say the folder or the directory. Let's say the folder, whatever folder. Say the folder that, not because it exists, we're going to get the folder PCS. The folder PCS exists. Are we clear?
Yes.
That is how you create a folder with mkdir, os.mkdir. So that's how you create a folder like this. Okay. You are not, if you try to see the contents of this folder PCS, which you can do, check the contents, you're going to see that there won't be much. Check the contents of directory PCS. And how do we do that? We use list dir, then we give it the name of the folder whose things we want to look at. So that's going to be os.list dir, then we give it the name of the folder we want to look at. So you can just say PCS in this case, PCS like that in this case, and you can see what we get back. We get back an empty set, an empty list, because there's nothing in that folder. Are we clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it is also possible for you to create a folder, at the same time create other folders inside. And for you to do that, you're going to use a function called make dirs. Here it is. All these things, all these folders you're looking at, all these functions you're looking at, they are available there. So we look this one, make this one. So we're going to use this, make dir. So this tells you make a lot of directories. So you make directories inside another directories. So there's a directory which is not there, but which is what we're going to make. We're going to make a bunch of directories. So the first thing we're going to do is, we're going to do this at once. You're going to create a directory called Zambia. In where we are in this data set, we're going to create a directory called Zambia. Then after Zambia, we're going to create, inside Zambia, we create a directory called Lusaka. Then inside Lusaka, we create a directory called Munali. Then inside Munali, we create a directory called UNZA. Then inside UNZA, we create a directory called Physics. So you're going to have a bunch of directories inside other directories like that. Are we clear? This is what we want to do. So the first thing is, we create a directory called Zambia. Then inside Zambia, we create a directory called Lusaka. Then inside Lusaka, we create a directory called Munali. Then inside Munali, we create a directory called UNZA. Then inside UNZA, we create a directory called Physics. So this whole string, we store it as folder, like that. Then we do this, make dirs. We run that. So so this function will create these folders. Okay. Now, has the folder called Zambia been created? You can check here. So we can check if this folder called Zambia, which looks like Zambia, has been created. Then later on we can check if everything has been created. So list the contents of the current working directory, not previous, but of current working directory. Has it created something called Zambia? That's what we want to check. Is there something called Zambia which has been created? So os.list dir, then that, then there. Here, Zambia is there. Okay. Okay, so we've got Zambia there. What is inside Zambia? Is there something inside Zambia? Again, you can check if there's something inside Zambia. So you can say OS, you can say Zambia, like that. What is inside Zambia? So inside Zambia, you see there is Lusaka there. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, inside Zambia there is Lusaka. You can check what's inside Lusaka, what's Zambia in Lusaka. Again, you can do that. You can do a check of that. So Lusaka and Zambia, what do? You get Mnali. So Zambia, Lusaka, inside there's Mnali. You can check what's inside Zambia, Lusaka, Mnali. You do that. Mnali. You get UNZA there. You can check what's inside Zambia, Lusaka, Mnali, UNZA. You get physics. Then you can check what's inside this physics, if that's what you want. There's nothing inside the physics. So you can see all these folders, Zambia, Lusaka, Munali, UNZA, and physics, were created at once using this command, this OS make dirs. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how you create directories inside other directories. Okay, I think this one I'll delete. It's not point because I've already discussed what this. Not even check. Yeah, I can do some chip check. So here I'll start with here. I'll say check if directory Zambia exists in current working directory. There, so you do check for Zambia. Then next you check for Lusaka. There, next you check for Mali. Check for Mali. So I can do this, yeah. Check for Mali. The next I check for UNZA. Okay, the next I check for physics. If the physics folder exists. Then yeah. Okay. Yeah, this we have already done. how to check for list contents of a directory using list dir. So this we have already done. So delete this. Delete that. Delete. Okay. Changing directories, you have also done this already. How to get into a directory. Maybe the thing you could do is, how do you get out of a directory? So now we know how to get into a directory, right? Then how do you get out of a directory? For example, let's change directory into Zambia. Then we find out where we are. Okay? Are we clear? Let's change directory into Zambia, then we find out where we are, then we do that stuff. Then we see how we're going to get out of these things. How much are we left with? Yeah. I think the other things we don't need them. Okay. Because this we have already done. Changing directories, how to change a directory. So what we're going to do is, we're going to get into these directories, then later on we'll try to come out of them. Delete this. So change directory into Zambia. Let's change actually into this whole thing here, into physics. Like that. So here, yeah, let's change into that from where we are. So we get into that folder. So we go straight into the physics folder, then we are there, there's nothing. Get location of where you are. So where are we? So there, print current working directory. Say print current working directory. We've seen how to do this. That is by using os.get cwd. When you do that, so basically this tells us we are in a folder called physics. And when you do that, here, this one, list the contents, and this folder called physics has got nothing really. Here when you say list the contents, list contents of current working directory, list contents of current working directory. As you can see, there's nothing there. Now we want to get out of this folder here. We want to get out of this folder. We're in physics folder. Now we want to get out of that folder. So we're going to say exit. I'll say exit UNZA.physics. This thing here, exit this folder. So if you leave the physics folder, you come into the UNZA folder. So the way you do this is by doing the following. So we want to get into the UNZA folder from the physics folder. So we're deep in the physics folder. We want to come out of there so that we can get in the UNZA folder. Just a minute. So this is what you do. You just say, oh, it's the change directory. Then you put these two dots. When you do that, so this takes you backwards. Then when you do this, you get the where you are. Now you see that you are no longer in the physics folder, but you're in the UNZA folder. Are we clear? So for you to move to a folder up, the way you say back on your computer, if you're in a folder, then you're going back. The equivalent of doing back is these two dots. If we do the same thing again, we want to exit the what's this? The UNZA folder, so that we can get into the Munali folder. Actually, now we want to get two folders back, because now we are in UNZA. We are in the UNZA folder. Now we want to jump even two folders back, so that we end up in Osaka. Okay, so that is how you move one step back like that. Now if you're going to move UNZA, leave UNZA, then you also move, leave Munali, so that you end up in Osaka. So what you need to do, instead of just doing two dots, what you need to do is the following: 2 dots / 2 more dots, like that. When you do that, then you find out where you are. So you have 2 dots. These ones, 2 dots, they get you back. Then the other 2 dots, they get you back again. So in this case, when you find out where you are, this time around, when you do this, you find that now you are in the Osaka folder. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah. If you do the same 2 dots, this business, now that you're in Osaka, you want to end up in dataset. So if you do 2 more dots, in that case, now that you're in Zambia, or in the Osaka folder, you want to get out of the Osaka folder, you want to get into dataset. You want to get into the dataset folder. The dataset folder, like that. So you're going to do these 2 more dots. You run 2 more dots like that. Then you get the location where you are. Where is that? No, okay. Yeah. Now you see that you're in dataset. If you list the contents of dataset, if you do a list, you should be able to see the Zambia folder there. List the contents of current working directory. So that's going to be os.list dir this. You see, you now see Zambia. So this Zambia actually has got other folders inside. Okay. Are we clear on that bit? How to get into a folder, then how to come out of the folder?
Yes.
Okay, you can come out of the folder in steps of 1 or 2. You can even come out in steps of 3 if you want, or 4 times if you want. Are we clear?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing you want to do is you can remove a folder. So in this case, if you want to remove a folder, there is a function you use, which is called rmdir, which means remove directory. So the folder we want to remove in our case, if it's a folder which does not have anything, okay, if it's a folder which does not have anything, then you just, like for example, we've got a folder called PCS. You remember? We created a folder called PCS, this one. If it's a folder which does not have anything, you just say os.remove folder like that. Then you can check if this folder exists or not anymore. Then you'll be told the directory PCS does not exist, or you can say the folder. So you just give the name of the folder to that os.dir. The folder PCS does not exist. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah, because the file has already been removed. If I try to create it up here again, where did I create that? Yeah, that, then down here, remove it. Oh, so folder, no, the folder, then you remove it. Okay, then you check like that. You can remove a folder like Zambia, which contains other things. Are we clear?
Yes.
So you give the name of the folder you want to remove, for example, Zambia in this case. Then if it contains other things, then you use this one. If you are removing a folder which doesn't contain things, you just say the name of the folder you want to remove because it's empty. But if that folder contains things inside, other folders inside, then you use this one called remove DIRs. When you do this, okay, directory not empty, Zambia. Okay. Then you have to give the name of the whole thing, I think. Osaka, Monali, UNZA. If you do this, what happens? Yeah. Physics. Okay, so you have to actually specify all the folders you want removed in this thing. Then it's going to go, if you check here, then, so you have to specify, if you're trying to remove folders which contain other things, you have to specify them in the path. Okay. There. Okay. So that's what we are interested. These other things of which come after this are not concerned with files. So we're not going to go into that. So this is how you create your folders, your things, then you get rid of them, you enter into folders and come out of that and stuff like that. Any questions? On what you have looked at so far? We have come to the end, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so this module OS can do much more, but what we are interested in ourselves is handling files. There are other things it can do, and we're not going to look at those other things. Okay, if you want to look at them, fine, you can look at them. But our case, our interest in OS was how do we handle files and how do we handle directories. Okay? Yeah, so we have come to the end of our class today here. Thank you very much for attending. So we are finishing at 17:11, so there's much more time, which, yeah, since we have finished early, we can't start a new topic, so we have finished what we wanted to do. So next week when we meet, we are going to now start looking at something which we are going to actively start using in our course, and that's what's called Numpy. So we're going to start studying a module called Numpy. This Numpy module is used for doing what is known as numeric computation. Then after the Numpy module, then we're going to look at how to make plots. So we're going to look at Numpy and matplotlib. So once we are done with the Numpy and the matplotlib, then our course will start in earnest, because by that time I am sure you have sufficient knowledge of Python to take on this course. Are we clear?
Yes.
So as far as I'm concerned, for now, you will be left with only 2 Python lessons which you need to do. Then we'll start the course. The other thing you're supposed to learn, we will learn it as we do the course. As we do the course, then we're going to learn stuff. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, Once we do the Numpy thing and we do the matplotlib thing, then you should also be in a position to start answering your labs. Are we clear?
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you very much for your patience. We are coming to the end of this learning Python before we start the course. So that, because when you are done with the next two things we're doing, I'm sure you have sufficient knowledge of Python to properly complete whatever it is, so that when I tell you go and do this and do that and this, you'll be able to carry out those things. Okay. All right, so we have come to the end. See you next week sometime.
Thank you.
Unless
See
you've got
you.
any questions, yes. All right. The video will be uploaded to the YouTube as usual, and you can rewatch it anytime during the course of your studies. Okay, so yeah, next week.
All right. Thanks.
Cheers.